Good afternoon and welcome to this special broadcast. My name is Alex Urbina, hanging out with Jeri Serrati-Goldman. Today we're going to be talking about mentally preparing for social distancing to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The reason why I didn't use self-isolation or quarantine, because I did a little research today, Jeri, and found that isolating or quarantine, those words are distinctive, and it has to do with either having the virus and not spreading it to others, or not spreading it if other people have the virus around you. And so I use the word social distancing because it's this, I think, an agreement that we're all making together collectively as societies decide to just take a time out from our life so that we don't spread it on to others. Doesn't mean that you necessarily have it. It just means that we're all agreeing to take a time out so that we don't infect other people, because we could be a host and not know it ourselves, right?
And the more we quarantine ourselves, the quicker this virus goes bye-bye.
Social distancing, you mean?
Yeah. Social distancing.
Yeah, I think that it's really this request that we're having so that all of us protect each other by deciding that if we're all going to do this at the same time, if we social distance ourselves from other people in the community, then we're going to somehow wipe this out, and then we're going to get past it. Hopefully, we're going to let that whole phase go by. They say it's 14 days, but I think there's some wiggle room in there too, right?
Well, you know, after being in quarantine for 26 days myself.
Now, you were actually quarantined because
twice.
You came off of the Diamond Princess cruise line on a vacation. And some people don't know this. I'm sure that most people do, but there's some people that don't know that you were actually quarantined, and your husband, Carl, actually was quarantined in the biocontainment unit out in Nebraska, correct?
Yeah, so let's clarify. We were both quarantined on the Diamond Princess for 12 days. We had tested on the Diamond Princess in Japan. Did not get our results back
before you got on the plane.
Right, we got them 2 to 3 days later when we got to Nebraska.
Correct. Now,
Carl tested positive the minute we got to Nebraska. They've got a lab there, so they tested us right away, and within 6 hours that day, I had come up negative and Carl had come up positive.
Right, so when you both got the results, he was positive, but they had already quarantined him because he was showing some symptoms.
We were both quarantined.
You were both quarantined.
Separately.
So
he was in a hospital, and I was on the property of.
But he was showing symptoms you were not.
Correct. He had a fever.
Got it. So then when the results came back, they confirmed that he had it from the results earlier.
Right.
They confirmed that you were negative, so you've never had it.
Correct. So then a few days later, Carl got an email from Princess Cruises that he was positive on the ship.
Did you know I got a phone call as well?
Yes, I did.
People don't know
this. You were
this.
our emergency contact.
Yeah, but people, and so it's funny because I can actually verify that you guys did not know, because I got the phone call and he was already in the hospital being quarantined. So it was already a day or two afterwards.
So our traveling buddies, Mark and Jeri Jorgensen, she got it on Valentine's night and was taken away the next morning with just an hour's notice, which was very traumatic. Her husband, Mark, and her were tested 2 to 3 days before she got taken away. He and I never got our results back. So when I was at Nebraska Medicine Center, I called Princess Cruises and confirmed that if you were negative, they did not tell you you were negative. You were just lost.
Which was the quote, "No news is good news," meaning you didn't have it.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you have experience being quarantined, and that's why
Twice.
I'm glad to have you on the show, because I want to talk about mentally preparing yourself for this social distancing that collectively the masses is being asked to do so that we protect each other.
Can I just do a quick traffic break?
Absolutely, go for it.
Railroad Avenue is down to 1 lane northbound, and this is right north of Magic Mountain, south of Cinema Drive, for some type of material that's in a building. We don't know yet, but tune in to KHTS Radio on Facebook or listen in. Check our website out at hometownstation.com.
And if you're driving in the streets around that area, try to avoid that.
Avoid
for sure.
railroad. It's down to 1 lane. So it's funny because we all at the radio station, on all of our phones, both iPhone and Android, is a measuring app.
Oh.
It's called Measure. You don't have to download it. I'm measuring.
Am I 4?
I'm measuring to make sure that you're 6 feet away from me and you need to move back.
So notice how she made it about me that I got to move back
I'm moving
rather
back too.
than her taking responsibility that she needs to move back. I love that.
So on all of our phones, both iPhone and Android, you have a measuring app. And it's measuring, where's the camera? Hi, camera. It's called the Measure app. You don't have to download it. It's on all of our phones, and I just measured, and now Alex is 6 feet apart.
All right. So if you guys didn't know, you can actually there's an app for everything nowadays. But apparently now there's an app to set your phone down and know if you can need to
Yes.
scoot back or ask the person to
Yeah.
scoot back to create that 6 feet
Exactly.
distance. All right. Number 1, mentally preparing yourself for social distancing. Get your family on the same page. What does that mean? That means you have to have conversation, right? It means that you get to discuss your needs and then open up a place for everybody in your family to discuss their needs. I want to inspire you to figure out how to create some kind of an agreement where you guys become a team. So you need to create some teamwork in your house. And then I'm also going to invite you to create some agreements. So discuss your needs, create teamwork, and then create some agreements if you guys are going to be creating a social distancing from the community inside your home for the next 30 days.
So that's a discussion that some friends of mine were having yesterday. One of my friends is a single mom with 2 boys, and she was doing that with her boys, negotiating. They wanted to sleep in a little bit, but she wanted to make sure they got their schoolwork done, only had limited time with the computer and gaming. So they had a meeting, and they negotiated. The kids negotiated back.
I love
and
that.
they did, this is Melissa Lee. She owns a Pilates place in the Metro. And she negotiated. The kids wanted to sleep in a little bit more. She gave in to that, not to have them be playing video games. Great mom.
Which is great leadership, great motherhood, and it's conscious parenting. So if you can create, even if you haven't done it yet, and you're noticing the house is getting a little bit ramped up at a higher level, it's okay for you to call a timeout or host a meeting. I actually do a lot of family meetings. My kids, they make fun of me
We know
because
that.
for years they're like, oh God, Dad's calling another meeting. But it's usually a meeting because I want to have a sit down and have a discussion so we can flush things out so that there's nothing being held in our tank. There's no resentment, there's no anger, there's no miscommunication. I always want to, when I notice there's tension, I'm always hosting a timeout or a family meeting so we can flush it out. And I trust on my leadership abilities that I can facilitate a process where we can talk it out, make amends, apologize, clean up, recommit, whatever it is, so that our team is functioning in a healthy way. And so I think it's important for you to get your family on the same page.
So I'm going to say something. We never did that until we started coaching with you. So I believe, I'm making the assumption that most families don't do that. So what I encourage you to do is 10 plus years ago when we sat down and started doing that, it was life-changing in our house. Life-changing. So exactly what Alex is saying, really listen to this and listen to what he's saying. That family meeting with the 6 and 5-year-old, whatever it might be, the teenagers. You know, my sister was sharing with me the other day that her teenagers were driving her up a wall. They're quarantined at home now in San Francisco. And I encouraged her to go to your website and take some tips from you and have a meeting and negotiate. This is what time you know, if you want to sleep in, I'll negotiate a half an hour, but this is what you're not doing, because it seems to be video games are the biggest issue.
Yeah.
And the fighting, and I see it in my neighborhood right now.
And let me also point out that just because you get these golden tips doesn't mean that when you call your first meeting, it's going to go, like daisies and roses, right? There might be some challenges because maybe for 15 or 8 or 12 years, you have never done this before, and you've given your kids permission to kind of just do as they please. So there might be a little bit of resistance there, but I think that they owe you the respect, and they need to honor that you're the mom, you're the dad, you're the leader of the family, and it's okay to lean on that card. It's okay to pull that card out and go, hey, wait a minute, time out. These are not normal times. This is a challenging moment. This is new for us. It's new for the world for us to be having this. I'm the leader of this family. Your dad's the leader of this family. Your wife's, your mom's the leader of this family. We get to call the rules and set the parameters. It's your job now to honor that and figure out how to get us all on the same page, we're going to create a safe space for you to share what your needs are, and we're going to have a discussion about it. So the main key is just to declare the meeting and then have that discussion, create the teamwork, and then create some agreements.
Can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
Would you do a mock video of this with a family?
Absolutely.
I will
Find me a family, we'll do it. All right.
will.
But please don't do it right now while we're on the air. Because I know you're a multitasker.
We've got Shane in the room.
All right, here's number 2. Create a safe space. So as the parents, right? As the parents, your job is to create a safe space for your kids. And the safe space, I want to paint this picture for you. A safe space for your kids to vent their frustrations, maybe to share some of their fears. This safe space can be an opening for you to invite your kids to clean up some agreements, or maybe you as the parents get to clean up some broken agreements. We can clean up some disagreements, and then we can learn how to apologize, clean those up, and then make a new commitment. So when I say create a safe space, that means you as the parent have to access your own compassion, your own understanding, your own vulnerability. So you have to be able to access some of those inner qualities to create that safe space. Safe space is a certain kind of energy that's emitted out from us. And I think as parents, we have that ability to tap into that, and your kids feel it. They feel open. They feel safe enough that they can share without being judged, without being reprimanded, without having you come down their throat and start giving them advice. So when I say create a safe space, what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, I'm going back, and when you coached us to do it many years ago, it was no judgment, non-judgment, and then to ask things in question form. So, hey, Ryan, what are you not happy with? Let's discuss. Well, Mom, I'm not happy that I have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning if I have nothing to do all day but 4 hours of schoolwork.
All right, let me pause there. Now, when he says that to you, you have to be neutral.
And that's tough.
Yeah. So
ground your feet to the ground, because that took years of learning.
And neutral is inner ability that you have to develop within yourself. Most of us aren't neutral because when we hear those words coming back from our kids, that mom, dad card that we have comes back, and we want to now either defend,
control.
We want to control, or we want to try to let them know from our fear that what it is that we want them to know in that moment. So you also have to start. You have to listen too. If you're going to open up a safe space for them to share, you also got to be a committed listener. You got to listen from a place of neutral, take it in, absorb it. Doesn't mean you have to respond right away. You can hold on to that information, and you can always tell your kids, "Let me think about that. I want to get back to you on it."
And it's a practice, because we had many failures and tears before we got to it in our house.
Yeah.
And me as a controller, I wanted to jump in and speak and talk over, and I learned how to sit on my hands and to listen. But that's a practice.
It's a process, and like I said earlier, it might not necessarily be something that's going to happen right away. It's going to take multiple times of you constantly calling that meeting, constantly going into your heart, being vulnerable, being present, being neutral, and then open up a discussion where, as your kids are talking, you're learning how to, from being neutral, not being in resistance, not taking it personal, not reacting, not getting upset, and just being a committed listener and just letting them share and let them vent. I promise, if you get really good at that, your kids are going to want to start sharing more often. I think the reason why most of our loved ones and our kids don't want to share with us is because they probably had bad experiences when they've been in discussions with you. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, is realizing that, yeah, maybe I'm not the best listener. Maybe I don't listen very well, and I constantly listen for what needs to be fixed, or what I need to control, or what my fear is telling me I got to get in there and muscle or try to course correct. So you have to really practice being a committed listener.
And for me, it was lack of patience. Huge lack of patience, of wanting to jump to the next thing. Like you say, I'm a multitasker, so it's learned.
Yeah.
Learned.
And the third thing is, I want you to give yourself permission to do things together. Now, I know when you were quarantined, you didn't have anybody really to do things with, which is probably why you jumped on Facebook so you can share and connect, right? But if you had people in quarantine, which you actually did have on the ship, because there were multiple times that you were quarantined.
Twice.
Right? The
Yes.
first time you actually had people, and I saw you guys doing things together, right?
Oh, we had a blast.
And so,
We had a blast
so I
in
want to
quarantine.
invite you to do things together, like eat together, pray together, walk together. You can stretch, do some morning stretches. You can exercise together, play games, do movie night. But I want you to focus on, hey, let's take an hour, right? This could be part of your discussion and your agreements and the things that you need. You can share with your family. Look, every day at a certain time, I want to just do something that we do together, even if it's putting a puzzle together or a fun game or crosswords. But I want to do something together so that you guys are staying connected. How important do you think that is?
Extremely important. Extremely. The other thing that, even though when Carl and I were separated the second time, even with Mark and Jeri, all four of us were on a daily basis, and we were committed to talk about our gratitude. And we each shared with each other 10 things that we were grateful for every day. And when we sat back and looked at it, it was like, it could have been something as small as getting shampoo or deodorant, but we shared it with each other. We laughed. When we were the first 2 weeks on the ship, Jeri and Mark and Carl and I were laughing. We never laughed so hard. We were creating obstacles. We were creating just fun stuff. This experience could be such a gift in so many ways.
If you're able to see it that way, and I think the gratitude practice is actually what caused you guys to be able to see it like that it was something that shifted your perspective so that you're able, from that gratitude, to have fun. Because prior to that, it was an opportunity for you to let the fear set in, let the panic kick in, go into overdrive. And that never happened because you guys kept going back to that tool called, let's find the things that we are grateful for.
So it was an interesting chain of events when we were told that we couldn't leave our rooms on the morning that we were supposed to get off the ship. The first 5 minutes was, well, I've got this meeting, that meeting, and dogs, and Shane's in the room, and we made a list, and when everything was changed, or Shane said, don't worry about it, I got the dogs in the house, the relief, and we were able then to move in very, very quickly. So I suggest that everyone make a list of what commitments you have and what you need to put off, and then you can see it, you can mark it off. Just making that call to Shane, my world changed. Business meetings, that was no big deal, but having the house and the dogs taken care of was, it was like, okay, we can do this. We can do 14 days.
Yeah, which is part of the mental preparing that you needed to do to free you up so that you could continue with the social distancing. The next thing is going to be get things done, whether it's working from home, whether it's doing schoolwork, whether it's cleaning, whether you guys are taking on a large projects. Could be something like rearranging the furniture, or getting to those things that you have been putting on the back burner and you never got a chance to do. Putting away maybe the Christmas ornaments. It could be anything that you put on the back burner. This is an opportunity for you to get things done so that there's some form of accomplishment. Satisfaction. There's something that comes when you accomplish something. I believe there's some brain chemicals that get released, some endorphins, where you feel like, I feel productive. I feel like I'm not sitting here in my pajamas just up in my head, letting my ego run with the fear and creating all of the sadness and getting in that funk. So be productive, do things that you actually set small little tiny goals around the house so that you're able to catch up and get those endorphins going.
So when I got home, I think it was on March 2nd, because of some of the hate that I had gotten, I had decided that I was going to do my own self-quarantine, even though I had tested negative for many, many tests for the 4 weeks in quarantine. And I, not being around people, set goals of, okay, I'm going to clean the carpet. I'm going to dust chandeliers. And boy, when I did that, I just kept moving on to the next project because I was like, woohoo, dusting. Little things that I had not gotten around to because I had been gone for 6 weeks. I mean, how satisfying can dusting be? And completely satisfying.
And you know, if you're a believer in energy, it's like as you cause and create energy from within yourself, that energy creates momentum. And if you know anything about creating energy with a momentum, it rolls into other things, and it's infectious. Like as you start to get busy and doing things, you'll be amazed how all of a sudden, you know, you've been telling your kids to go clean their room, and once you start cleaning, right, you turn the music on, your dad,
music.
all of a sudden you watch your son or daughter slowly disappear. They start picking up their room, but energy is infectious, and so when you get moving or you're committed to getting something done, it's the cause. You're causing things to be productive in your home, and I think it's important because as you spend that energy during the day, it's going to help you sleep better at night, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're tired.
Wiped out.
But if you're all day in a funk, you're going to struggle with sleeping at night. Yeah, because your mind's going to be wandering. And so if you're wondering why you can't sleep at night, you're probably not getting enough accomplished or doing enough during the day. Maybe you add or pile on a few more activities or things, commitments that you can get done during the day, because it just gets the blood going too. Yeah. All right, the next thing is give each other some space. If you're locked up in a home with a bunch of people and you're with family, you got to give each other space. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about how to give each other space and what that looks like. Stay tuned for more of this special broadcast on mentally preparing for social distancing with Alex Urbina and Jeri Serrati-Goldman right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Are you one of the 3% of Americans that love to keep an open mind, that loves to gain new, fresh insight to improve your life, your relationships, and just be overall happy and grateful for it all? Then tune in every Friday at noon on the Alex Urbina Radio Show to listen in on all the topics we tackle on self-mastery, right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker has been ranked the 15th most influential person in the entire Santa Clarita Valley in 2010 by the Santa Clarita Valley Business Journal. When everything is on the line, call the Hacker Law Group.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Have you ever been frustrated with people and you're like, this is common sense?
Yeah.
Some people don't have common sense. You're remembering that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. It's not the other way around.
I mean, most of it.
Oh, now we're moving to most of it. Can we take responsibility for all of it?
I create all of my own stress because I have to let go of control.
Today on My Conscious Dad, you're going to get a peek into the inner workings of a father-daughter relationship, learning how to communicate effectively, expressing yourself thoroughly, and loving each other wholeheartedly. And now live from the KHTS studios in Old Town Newhall, California, here's Jasmine Urbina and her dad, Alex.
Not Jasmine.
Hey, we have sometimes we have a little mishap, so that was not the show that we're doing today. Today is actually a special broadcast with Alex Urbina, Jeri Serrati-Goldman, co-owner of the radio station here on KHTS. And today we're talking about mentally preparing for social distancing. And this is really to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. And it's a request that our leadership is asking for all of us in the United States to accept as our own responsibility of looking out for each other, such that we don't infect other people. And you can infect other people without even knowing that you might be even a host. And so I don't know how this really works. I guess we can be a host in carrying it, and maybe we don't necessarily have it, or we don't have symptoms. It's still a lot learning right now, but it makes sense to me that I could be carrying something that could jump onto someone else, or that I can pass on to someone else, even if I don't actually have symptoms or if I don't actually have it myself. And so with that concept, I've decided I gotta just protect other people and stay out of large communities and gatherings more than 10.
Yeah. So just a real quick left-hand turn, like I do quite often. Mark Jorgensen, who was with us, and people can see his video on my Facebook page, he was asymptomatic for the last 6 weeks and got released yesterday because the CDC is finding that if you're asymptomatic, you're not passing it on. So what I'm asking people is to check in quite often with the CDC.gov guidelines, because it is changing rapidly on what is and what's not. So he was released from the quarantine because he's been asymptomatic for 6 weeks.
So CDC is discovering this on the fly. Things are opening up, things are developing, and they're coming up with new breakthroughs or new realizations, and they're going, okay, now that we've tested this and we have an answer, now we're going to put it on our website to educate us.
They even, China did a study that a couple people were checking with what blood type I am, and I'm O positive, and they're finding that blood type A is more susceptible to it, but Carl's O negative. So I don't know how much credence is in that.
Yeah, it's not an exact science.
Yeah.
I think they're just noticing trends,
yeah.
And they're just giving us that information. We have to be careful not to turn trends into the truth.
Right.
Because I don't think anything really is the truth. It's just findings that the scientists are coming up with, and we got to learn how to make sense of that information to better put ourselves in a higher percentage of not exposing ourselves. All right, on the mentally preparing ourselves for social distancing, if you missed the 5 other things that we talked about, you might want to either go back later on and see if you can catch up on some of that stuff. If you're just joining us, welcome to the show. The next thing I want to talk about is giving each other space. If you guys are quarantined in a home, like a large family, or even a medium-sized family, or even if it's just you and your wife, you might need to just take some time out, right? And I think it's important to, one, honor and respect that each one of us needs a time out. Sometimes we need to decompress. Sometimes I just need to collect my thoughts. There are some people that on this planet are real sensitive to energy. I call them angels on the planet, because they're really healing with their energy, and they've tapped into that and they've developed those abilities. Some of us have it and we don't even realize it. You're really sensitive with energy. You can be drawing or draining from other people, or people could feeding off your energy and you not even realize it. If you've ever noticed that you might be exhausted sometimes when you're around a lot of people, they could be draining your energy, and you might be totally oblivious to it. So sometimes we just need our time to just go and just get my energy back. I need to refuel. And once you got an hour or 45 minutes or whatever time you need, it's like, all right, kids, I'm back. And sometimes, Mom, you need that too, right?
Well, I walked in the house last night, and there was a crew. Inside Edition was filming Carl at the house, and I had a challenging day at work and just needed my breaks. So Carl and I have, because of your coaching for many years, he knows that he comes home and eats, and I come home and need my time out. So I went upstairs for my half an hour, was good, and came back down. But coming into my house with a whole lights, camera, action was something that just like, okay, this isn't going to work for me. I'm not going to get pissy, but excuse me, I'm going to go upstairs for my half an hour break.
And because of the conscious awareness that you've been in that journey of just learning and noticing more about you and what it is you need. So there's a lot of people that don't. And so maybe this is for the first time they've heard how important it can be to just get your own time out. And it's okay to tell your partner or your kids, I need a time out. And you might have to explain that a little bit more, because sometimes people hear time out. They don't hear I need a time out. What they hear is, oh, you've had enough of me, or oh, you think I'm annoying, or they take it personal. They turn it into a negative connotation instead of, no, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is I just need a time out so that I can recharge myself. And so you might have to explain to people, don't take this personal. This is not about you. This is a Alex need. This is a Jeri need. This is what I need right now to be able to regroup so I can come back.
And most importantly is everyone's timeout looks different. So Carl gets home and he eats. Last thing I want to do when I get home is have dinner. I want it to look different.
That's right. That's why I said you got to honor and respect each person's, not only their time, but what they do with their time. So it's like if your husband, his time out to recharge is going into his garage and tinkering with his tools, or putting away or shining his car in the garage or whatever it is, don't go out there and criticize him for like you're not being productive. You're just tinkering with your tools. Well, that's how he decompresses his day. Don't go in there and dishonor that process, because that's what he might need to be able to collect his thoughts, let go and flush out some of the things that he's been holding on to the day, so that he can walk back in the house and be a better husband and be a better father. Like, let's honor that. Let's open up that possibility that that's what we need, is to be able to give each other space. The next one is make sure that you're reaching out and checking out on others. When we're kind of in this timeout period, it's very easy to just focus on, all right, what does Alex need? What does my wife need? What do my kids need? But there's other people in your inner circle. There's your mom, who might have her and her dad, or her and her family, or your brothers and sisters. You got aunts and uncles, you got cousins. You have other people that might be struggling and won't raise a flag and say, hey, I need help. So it might be good for you to set up a rule that I'm going to reach out to 10 people every day and just check on them. Hey, how you doing? How are you holding up? Whether it's a phone call or a text, let's just reach out to other people and check on them. It could be your neighbors. You might have an elderly neighbor that, can't get out of the house to go get their groceries, and they're down to their last jar of peanut butter. And if you don't go and reach out, you won't know that.
And we actually, the neighbors were checking on Carl, so we stood 6 feet apart the other night in the middle of the street. Everyone shared how much they love Shane being at our house, but we also talked about...
Everybody loves Shane.
Everyone loves Shane. But we talked about what we could do for the neighborhood, and everyone got together yesterday. They started a Facebook page for our neighborhood. They're talking about how we can exchange toilet paper and food, what we're going to do with trash, if there's not, weekly trash, and how you separate trash, stinky trash, and
Shane will come pick it up for you guys.
Poopy trash and diaper trash into one thing. And a couple of the dads in the neighborhood said, hey, we'll make arrangements to get it at the end of the block on the hillside, and then bring it in when we know there is trash. So within hours, Facebook page up, working together, checking in who needs toilet paper, who needs meat. I mean, Carl and I had no supplies, and everyone's been bringing us food. I mean, it's been amazing.
Yeah. So my invitation is to look out for each other, reach out and check on each other to make sure that everyone has what they need. Be willing to share. Look around in your stockpile or in your supplies and see what you have a little bit overabundance in, put it aside, and then check out on people and ask them, what do you need? And maybe they'll reach back and go, what do you need? And imagine if we all did that. I mean, the world would transform overnight if every one of us just decided, hey, I'm going to look at what I have a little bit over in abundance, and if it's what you need, here you go. And that energy is so infectious, and we could really transform not only our community, but the entire planet.
Our neighborhood's also going to be putting Christmas lights back on their house.
What is that for? Is that just a mood thing? It's just like a symbol to say love.
Love. It's as simple as just we're all together on our block, love. It's kind of interesting because there's a guy that washes our windows in the neighborhood that's down and out right now, and I made a call and doing it for very little money because he wants to give back, but he was needing rent money.
He's a Christmas tree light guy?
Yeah.
Have him reach out to me, and I'm going to put a post on the site, the
Right.
SCV coronavirus support site, and let's see if we can get him some work.
Yeah. Let's light up Santa Clarita.
Let's do that. Let's light up Santa Clarita. Let everyone know that we're sticking together. We got your back. It's just a symbol to let you know
Love.
that love. We got it for
And we've
everybody.
got each other.
Cool. I love that. So reach out, check out on others. The next one's going to be every morning I want you to be intentional for your day. Create an intention. It's funny because there's a lot of people that are doers, right? Like you're a doer. You just get up, and I don't even necessarily know if you create an intention or not.
Every day.
Yeah, okay, good. But there's some people that just get up and they just do because it's their routine. But I want you to stop for a moment and get centered and grounded, even if it's for 3 to 5 minutes, and create an intention. I started doing this about maybe 18 years ago, and it's actually a routine that I do everywhere I go. Like I won't go to a meeting. I won't walk into my home until I have about 3 minutes in my car where I just take a deep breath, and then I go within myself and I ask myself, Alex, what's your intention when you walk into wherever you're going? Is it to be loving? Is it to be inviting? Is it to be a great listener? Is it to inspire people? Is it to see the greatness in others? And I think that when you just give yourself a moment to create an intention for what it is that you're going to cause, you automatically decide that you're that powerful enough to cause that. And you will surprise yourself that you will actually cause that which you intend, because we are that powerful.
Right.
But it starts with you doing some of these daily practices, and it just takes for you to stop for a moment, take a little time out, and get centered and grounded, and then create what it is you're intended to cause for the day.
And that's how I start the day. Every day I start with stretching my body, prayer, and what my intention is.
Yeah, and you can even do that as you're getting dressed. Like as you're getting dressed, as you're brushing your teeth, looking at yourself in the mirror, you could be brushing your teeth and then having with your eyeballs, looking at your own eyeballs, having this inner dialogue that, hey, my intention today when I go out is to, be a support in the community. When I go out in the world today, it's to help people realize what they're capable of creating. Or I'm going to go out and sell a family a home so that we can make sure that they're safe. Or I'm going to fix someone's car so that they get to their destinations safely and that they can transfer their kids around town knowing that they're safe in this vehicle and those kinds of things. But if you have an intention, you're purposeful. The next thing is going to be monitor your screen time. You will be surprised that if you're not conscious, you're not aware, and you're not present, that you could be on the internet for hours. You could be watching TV for hours. Limit how much time you spend online or on your phone. I think it's going to really make a difference in your mood. It'll make a difference in your mindset, in your ability to interact with each other. It's very easy in these times where we're taking a time out to really be obsessed with information, especially in the digital world, because we're so caught up in, like, I got to be plugged in, but be plugged in at home. You don't necessarily be plugged in online all the time, right?
So I had some bad stuff happen with that in quarantine when I was by myself. Some of the haters were attacking me in the middle of the night when I was in Nebraska. So what part of the country I'm not sure that they were in, and I got obsessed. So they threatened me with what the Streisand effect was, where I'm going to create a new bot and I'm going to hit you and I'm going to throw shade at you, and I would delete, block, and it was a game that I became obsessive with and realized even my phone gave me something that I never had before with screen time was way up. I didn't even know that existed. It's like, okay, you've got a problem. This has got to back off, because I was by myself too, which was not good.
I think the internet and social media can be a hook. What I mean by that is there's so much enticing information that piques your curiosity or has an interest, or pokes at an insecurity or something, it ends up becoming a hook. So it hooks you and it draws you in. Unconsciously.
Cat and mouse game.
You have to be aware of not getting. Imagine you're on the internet, and all these companies and people are doing what they do, and there's these hooks that go like this, and your job is to learn how to distance yourself just far enough that none of those hooks grab you. But be prepared that some of them have getting creative on their hooks. They're creating longer hooks, so the distance that you're separating, one of them is going to hook you, and it's going to drag you in to any kind of dysfunction that's going on. And it might have you, like you said, defending yourself. Because for a minute there...
Very dysfunctional.
For a minute there, you were defending yourself. And I had to go, Jeri, you don't have to defend yourself. This is not who you are.
Right.
This is a misinterpretation of other people. And I don't care how much you try to defend yourself, you're not going to be able to get those people to see that. It's a game you can't win. And I think once it clicked that, yeah, you're right. I can't control it. 2, I'm not going to get them to see it my way. I don't care. I could speak till I'm 80 years old, and there's certain people that because they're so rigid in their mindset, once they see something, they're just going to see it like that to the day they die. They're not going to just go, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I did misinterpret that. That's just not how, some people are.
Right.
And so it's a game you can't win. So the trick is, let's not get hooked into it, and I'm not going to play the game. We're going to take one more break. When we come back from the break, we're going to wrap this up, this special broadcast on mentally preparing yourself for social distancing to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
Santa Clarita's premier senior living community, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, is leasing, bringing comfort and luxury to assisted living. Seniors can enjoy 5-star amenities, panoramic views, easy access to the freeways, and nearby shopping centers in a world-class community that provides an advanced continuum of care. No other community has this kind of luxury and amenities in our valley. You'll find good health, vitality, and purpose at Oakmont of Santa Clarita. Stop by for a tour. Visit oakmontofsantaclarita.com.
The minute I open my door,
Debbie Morris has a problem.
I say, oh my gosh,
A really big problem.
the dog, the cat, my 3-year-old.
Debbie's house is a mess.
How can one family create this disaster?
Debbie needs Made for You.
I need help.
Professional residential and commercial cleaning, locally owned. You choose the schedule, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or even one-time seasonal cleaning. Call 255-2922. That's 255-2922. Made for You.
Made for You rescued me.
It's never been so easy to have a great night out. Whether it's a date night or girls' night out, experience Pinot's Palette in Valencia or Encino. Order your favorite drink from the bar and paint your very own masterpiece. No art experience needed. Local artists make it easy for you. So you can paint, sip, and listen to great music while creating a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Fun, relaxing, and memorable. Pinot's Palette. To book your party, go to pinotspalette.com. That's pinotspalette.com.
Welcome back to this special broadcast with Jeri Serrati-Goldman. I'm your host, Alex Urbina. We're talking about mentally preparing yourself for this social distancing in this time where we've all been asked by the government to be invited for all of us to just take a time out and to really distance ourselves from the masses so that we're not massively affecting other people, whether it's consciously or unconsciously or purposeful or not, because we don't really know too much about this new virus. We're starting to learn it. Apparently the CDC is having breakthroughs. They're noticing trends, and they're trying to update us on the CDC website as it's unfolding. But as we're learning about this new thing, I think there's still a lot of questions and a lot of unknown about it. So I think the best way, and I agree with the plan, is let's just take a time out and let's make sure that we're not somehow infecting other people, even if we're not aware that we are.
Right. So the people that got sent from different Air Force bases around the country that were evacuated from the Diamond Princess, the Americans, they either went to Texas or to Nebraska or to Northern California. All those people, other than a couple now, so it's been how many weeks? 4 weeks that we were offloaded, are all now clear. So the quarantine has worked. There was people that had underlining, like Carl with another underlining that took longer to get over it, but that it's right there. It's in practice. You know, there's 700 and some people that were infected now that are all being released in this next week.
Not to mention, there's other countries that got this before.
Look
They
at
got the wave before us,
Korea.
and so we're learning from a
Yeah.
lot of the things they're doing right, as well as the things that
Like Italy that we're doing wrong.
Yeah, and so we're learning from them, and you just got to make sure that you're educating yourself, but also educating yourself with the right information, because I've noticed there's a lot of misinformation out there that's being spread by people that are operating out of fear.
Fearmongers.
Yeah, and you got to be careful. You have to just take responsibility for sifting through that. If you're unsure, ask a few people that you trust. Hey, what do you think about this? This is what I'm hearing.
Well,
That's what these discussions are for in your home.
Be very careful with social media, because there's people out there that are going to trick you up. When you want solid information, cdc.gov.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to talk about is frustration. It's very easy to find things in this time that we're taking this time out to be frustrated about. One thing could be all the other people that are operating out of fear and panic, as they're choosing to operate from fear and panic, and it doesn't make sense to you why they would be doing that, could very easily trigger some anger and frustration in you. And I want to invite those of you that seem to be frustrated because you don't see that other people see it the way you see it. It's like, you know, that common frustration phrase is, they just don't get it. Yes, people don't get it. Common sense is not common. And I don't know when you're going to learn this. If you're going to learn this in your teens, you're going to learn this in your 20s, or you're going to be on your deathbed still wondering why people just don't get it. People don't get it because we're all on our own journey of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritual growth. And some people are a little farther in advance and evolved than others. And you have to learn to have a little bit more compassion for the underdevelopment of other people. And in your lifetime, in order to save yourself years of misery and stress and anger and frustration, which only causes your cancers, right? Your sickle cells. You're only poisoning yourself when you hold on to anger, frustration, and resentment towards other people that so-called don't have common sense. And furthermore, you're not helping the situation by projecting that out into the community.
So I'm going to tell you a quick little story. When we were on the ship, we would go out, we had a little mini suite, so we'd go out on our balcony and talk to the neighbors up and down and all over the place, shouting. And there were several Americans that dug their heels in and did not leave the ship the night that they evacuated most of the Americans off. So there were several of them that said, I'm not going into another quarantine. I just did 12 days. I'm not doing another 14. Dug themselves in, got evacuated a week later and had to go into quarantine in Japan, and they were stuck in rooms that had no windows, and they dug their heels in. There's a really good example. So they were delayed a week, ended up in a foreign country, in very tiny rooms with no windows, and they were going crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And so with that being said, I'm going to get back to the last couple of distinctions. And you talked about it earlier, and it's a great tool that you learned and developed, and it's gratitude. If we can just stop for a moment and look at our lives, and I love this metaphor. If you watch any kind of movie that warms your heart, some of those movies paint a picture of what you think you have worse. There's always someone around you that has it worse off. And when you look around and you look at and you can put yourself in someone else's shoes that might be struggling or suffering at a whole other level that you're not, it instantly, if you're open and you're in your heart, it instantly has you look at how grateful you can be. Now, just because you can be grateful because someone else might not have it as good as you do, doesn't mean that you can actually choose to be grateful. Gratitude is a choice, but it starts with you being willing to stop, do a reevaluation of what you have, where you are, and then look at other people and notice that not everyone is blessed as you are. So it's a perspective that if you practice shifting this perspective, you will bring more joy, more peace, more love into your life. Let's continue to look out for each other. This might be a little bit of a grind. I think coming around the corner, it might drag out a little bit longer. So we're in it for the long haul. Look out for each other. Peace, love, and harmony. And thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Love you, Alex.
We're out.